Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kriti and this is another fun Friday videos with critical comedy. Today's video will be focused on the topic about studying in Denmark and then finding a job and working here. Today I have Anant with me who would be sharing his experience about this topic. So let's get started. Hi Anant, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for your time today. To begin with, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Kriti. So my name is Anant Visaria. I am from Mumbai in India, and I've been in Denmark for almost 4 years now. And I'm working as an energy consultant over here. I came here for my master's at DTU in sustainable energy. I'm an engineer by education, and now I'm working full time as an energy consultant for the past 1 year in Copenhagen.
So I really want to know why did you choose to study masters here in Denmark? Why did you choose Denmark?
Sure. I mean, the story can be longer, but basically, when I was doing my bachelor's, towards the end of it, I knew that my interests were in renewable energies and sustainable energy, and I already started researching different options that are good to study that further. And so once when I was finishing my bachelor's, I did have a job offer in hand from L&T, but that wasn't exciting enough for me. So I took a gap year and I decided to give the different exams that people give, like to go to the US and all. But in the meantime, I was also learning German because at the base of it, I was personally more interested in going to Europe. And so Germany was my first preference because over there's no tuition fee for most universities, even if you're non-European. But as a backup, I'd applied to Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, because I was sure I wanted to be in Europe, where the development of renewables was much higher compared to the rest of the world. And when I applied, fortunately or unfortunately, in hindsight, I didn't get into the German university I wanted to, but I got into Delft and DTU. DTU is Technical University of Denmark, and Delft is TU Delft in Netherlands. And I spoke to a few people, someone who had studied at both the universities and analyzed the courses and the style and education pattern, life, and just all the information I could find online and through talking to people. And I decided to go for Denmark because at the end of the day, my purpose was to get a quality education. And in that sense, Denmark was the better option. And in hindsight, it is also a better option than Germany, in my opinion.
Okay, so now you think that it's like whatever happened for the good, right? Like you.
Definitely, I think that if I had gotten selected for a German university, it would have sort of distracted me from the most correct path for myself. I believe that even though, like studying in Denmark, there was tuition fee and it's an expensive country, etc., and Germany would have been more affordable. I feel that not only education-wise, but professionally, personally, I am very pleased that I ended up here.
So Anant, could you go like little deeper into how was your experience about studying in Denmark? How do you see the
So
education system here in Denmark?
yeah, I'll go through some of the highlights that are in my opinion, very important. First and foremost, I think that the shift from Indian education system, which is a bit more linear, a bit more archaic, where you have a professor comes into the class, gives a lecture, then you'll have some exercise assignment, and then you'll have a written exam where you'll remember tons of things and just puke it all out in an exam. I think most of us have done exams like that. This was a whole 180-degree shift from that. First and foremost, for me, the most exciting thing was you have 4-hour lectures at DTU. It's not the same at all the universities. I don't think so. But at DTU, the way it's structured is you have, depending upon how many credits the course is for, you'll have either 1 or 2 sessions of 4 hours in a week. And that is in itself a really good thing, because then you have like 1 or 2 hours of the professor giving you new information, and then you can actually work with the professor, work with the TAs on exercises, on assignments, on projects. And so you get a lot of concentrated information, and you actually, and once you're back home, all you have to do is like continue working on it. It's most of your doubts and understanding is already cleared in that time. And the next important thing, and by far the most important thing, was the focus was not on remembering, not on how much you know, but how well you know it, in the sense that it was on understanding, it was on application. So from the semester 1, we were working on multiple different projects and different courses with companies or just academic projects in groups. And none of the exams were ever like, oh, you have to remember everything and then write things down. You're always allowed to access materials in exams. In fact, most of my courses had oral exams where you finish your project work in a group or whatever, or individually, and then you have like a viva or talk with your professor, questions and all. And I feel that that's how it should be, because when you go into the field, when you're actually working, no one expects you to know a formula by heart. You can always access it. There's no competition in that sense. But being able to sort of decipher, okay, this is what I need to apply here, that is the actual skill. And like, being able to work in a group with other people, working on projects and not specific problems is also a skill. Then the other important thing was the flexibility of it all. Just beginning with, like, we're on first name basis with everyone over here. You don't say Mr. or Sir, and that's really nice, because you're treated as an equal, and there's complete access that you can write to a professor or just set up a meeting, and they will always respond to you and respond to you respectfully and as an equal. And that was really nice. Like, even despite having like just being on first name basis, that didn't mean there was a lack of respect. There was respect both ways, and just openness to answering questions no matter how trivial they might be. And then the flexibility where the course, well, it's expected to be in 2 years, but I got an internship opportunity which was full-time for 6 months, so I got to extend that also to 2.5, 3 years, even if I wanted to. All I had to do was pay extra, like, for my living costs, but other than that, the university was fine with it. And flexibility in the sense that at DTU you have something called special courses, where you can actually go to a professor and say that I'm really interested in this specific thing, and can we do a special course on it? And they will actually decide, like, create a course for you for a few credits. And even in the other 120 credits, the 30 credits for the thesis aside, there's a lot of choice in what you're studying. You can actually tailor pretty much things like to your requirement, and you can specialize, or you can be a generalist. I chose to be a generalist. I did a lot of different things, and I was I'm sure there are places in India and other places that give some of these opportunities, but I felt that this is one of the top places in that regard, where it was open, it was accessible. There was a lot of, the focus was on learning and not on a race to get a job or anything else. That was very nice.
Yeah, because I totally agree with you. I think the fear goes away, which sometimes in India, like, you have to study for exam, you have to be prepared very well.
the one thing I gave a talk about this within my community in India, I think last year, and I think I, the key highlight is the acceptance of or the ability to, you know, make mistakes and still be okay. Like over here, making a mistake is like you, unless it's a monumental blunder, no one is going to like reprimand you. You can make mistakes and it can be corrected, and and you can learn from it, but that doesn't like take away from who you are. Like in India, where I studied, having a back or a KT or whatever you say sort of affects your chances of future opportunity. And but whereas over here, I extended my study line. Whenever I applied, like they asked for academic score and all, but that's not a criteria per se for selection unless you're in a big company where they have to filter out applicants. But um, yeah, so it was firstly like just allowing you to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. That was one thing. The second thing was you can ask people for something before just assuming that this won't happen or will happen. So you could go to a professor or go to someone in a company, write to them, call them, get access. And the worst thing that will happen is they'll say no, that something is not possible, but no one will ever stop you from asking for something. And I think most of my opportunities that I got were because I asked, and I like 90% of the times people say yes to things, and you might just like hold yourself back sometimes when you don't ask. So all that sort of thought process, that ability to actually, you know, lose, as you said, the fear and just give it a shot is something I had in India, but it became more pronounced over here.
Yeah, because I'm also understanding this. Like I have also studied 2 years diploma course for theater, and
Mm,
I saw, how different it is here. Like solution is not given to you. You
mm,
have to find it for yourself. And as you said, not telling the teacher like sir or ma'am by
mm.
just by the first name. They respect that thing here. So these were like the good points, but definitely there must be some challenges, Anant, when you're like studying in a new country. If you
Uh,
could tell us a little bit about those things.
so first challenge, I think it's a general challenge about like moving to a whole new country. Like my first semester was very difficult personally, psychologically, because it was a whole new education system. I didn't really score that well, and I was still adjusting to the requirements. Where, like, I learned that like you just come out of a system where you can not focus the whole semester, and towards the end, you can like just spend a week or two and get through an exam. And so, moving from that to where it's important that you attend all the lectures and sessions regularly, and then you're not stressed towards the end because you don't have to remember stuff. You just have to go through and know your, like, understand what is there. So that was a tricky transition for me. Then just the weather
Yeah.
over here is, it's dark and it's gloomy half the time. And I was lucky to have, I was living in a student house with exchange students, so it was all, and like, they were all new over here, so it was easy for me to, experience the place because everyone who I knew wanted to experience the place as well. They were also learning about it, so it was a learning experience for everyone I was living with. Food, I had to learn how to cook and manage, and for us as Indians, I guess food is a big change. But I mean, I've noticed this, that the other Indians I know, their experience with the food and mine was a little different, where I personally adapted a little differently, where I started using the things that were more easily available over here. More like my diet changed from, like, I still eat a lot of Indian food and make a lot of Indian food, like gravy based food, and with rice or with roti or different things. But more often than not, I am fine with like eating rye bread or salads or open sandwiches or pasta or something like that. And I mean, yes, I miss Indian food from time to time, but that adjustment was a very good one for me. So I don't struggle with food anymore. Then yeah, missing friends and home, like just I think one difficult thing was in India, you have to, show yourself, your presence has to be felt. Like, if you're in a viva or something, I had situation where there's some professors where you have to keep answering and add content to what you're saying until the professor tells you to stop, that okay, you've given the answer and it's fine. I mean, not all were like that, but whereas over here, this I think communication is very different, where you say exactly what you need to say, be to the point, be succinct. And if you keep talking, they're very polite and they won't interrupt you unless it's like important or it's been too much. And that actually backfires on someone with like the mentality I had, where I was hoping that they will stop me when it's time. But like, so just understanding that how you communicate over your cultural difference of like privacy and of yes, there is no hierarchy, but also then like how do you write to someone? That's the difference. Just yeah, there are nuances to the communication that was in like something you had to learn. And challenges, any other challenges? I
Like,
definitely didn't do too well on some of the courses, but yeah, you learn from that.
and like making friends, was it easy?
That I think for me personally, it was much easier because in India also I was someone who was very extrovert, very outgoing, and plus I after school I spent 3 years in Kota, then 4 years in Gandhinagar, and even in that, like having people coming to your university on exchange and this that. So I was very used to being in a new environment and like approaching people and all. But making friends with Danes specifically takes a lot of time, and like it's a process. But even with Europeans and other people, it takes a little while. The openness takes a while, so you have to just do things. And I was lucky that in 2018 I ended up, because I have a love for theater and I did a lot of that in my bachelor. So I ended up finding Copenhagen Theater Circle, and there were a lot of expats who were theater enthusiasts as well. So I found my friends over there as well. Then I'd also done an internship at the United Nations for 6 months full time, and over there also there were people from around the world, and made friends through that. So, so you have to make an effort. Like
Yeah.
if you have to go for events, you have to go for meetups, you have to be at places where people are like unlike in India where you can just strike up a conversation with someone you randomly met somewhere. Over here, there has to be a purpose to actually bring people together and actually be in an environment where, okay, we want to get to know people. So, yeah, you have to put yourself in those places.
But I feel in Denmark, like there are options for those things. Like there are a lot of activities,
100%.
meetups. Yeah. And
Like
I
even at
was, yeah,
DTU, at a university, we had a bunch of things. We had a SUS, a student club, and all. So you could go for parties and quizzes and this that. There was a dance club. You could attend that. People who were into sports could play that. So you had to find like I think most of the people, and of course the people you're studying with,
yeah.
those people. So there is some common binding factor always that actually leads to those friendships.
So like in Denmark, they say like when it comes to working, Denmark is best for work-life balance. So I want to understand uh, for like when you're studying, how
Mhm.
is life other than studying? Did you have like good time to do other
Yeah,
activities?
I mean, as I mentioned, I did an internship where I like for 6 months, and then I was in a theater group and a few other things here and there. I took one semester. I learned a bit of salsa, and so definitely, like, there are times that are stressful. It's not like life is never stressful over here. You can have an exam coming up or a submission or something. But other than that, you will always find like a few hours each day or each week and a week here and there in the semester. Plus, then you have June, July, August as summer, 3 months where you can actually, that they're wide open. Like if you don't take up a summer course, then you're free to travel um, and do other things. And the same in December and January. So predominantly as a student, study life is tense for, I would say, about 8 months or maybe 9.
Mhm.
But like you would easily have those 2 or 3 months where it was fine to just travel or chill or go home or something.
Yeah. So Anant, I know this information is also available everywhere, like on the university's website, but if you could give us an overall idea about entire expense when you're planning to, come to
Yeah,
Denmark for studying.
I mean, as I mentioned, this is all a personal experience and a very subjective thing. Like tuition fees and to some extent rent um, is something like a fixed cost that people have to pay. So like tuition fees from at my time, I don't know if that has changed now, is equivalent to 30,000 euros, and then rent can be anywhere from it can be on an average 4,000 kronas a month. So I don't know how to, because I've been here and that's one thing. As soon as I got here, I understood that um, don't convert currencies
Yeah.
back into rupees.
Yeah.
That doesn't really help in any way. So in terms of kronas, if I was to put it down, for me, my monthly expense, other than uh, tuition fee at university, was on an app, it could vary from 6,000 crowns a month to 8,000 crowns a month, including rent.
Hmm.
So rent in that would be around 4,000. There was a year where I had much less than that, and there were years where there was a year where it was much more. But on an average, I would say 6 to 8,000. But I do know people who live in much less than that, and
Yeah.
they manage. But I just chose to live a more uh, average life where I wasn't restricting myself too much, nor
Hmm.
was I being too, um, yeah, just like
Yeah.
spending a lot.
Yeah. With my experience also, like living here, I know you can find all levels of accommodation, and
Yeah.
it's totally up to you what you want to.
And it becomes much easier if you like get a student job or something. So
Yeah.
um, working part time is very common over here, especially in like Danes and Europeans, and even part time work pays very well.
Very well. Yeah.
Um,
And you are allowed to work with
yeah,
when you like as a part time for a
you're
student
allowed
with
to work
them.
20 hours. So the system is set up such a way that the students can work up to 20 hours a week
Okay.
and full time, like 37 hours a week in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then it makes it easier because here in Denmark, that's the thing. You can do any job and every job is respected. So it's not like,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Anant, if you could share, what are the student jobs that you can do while you're
Uh,
studying?
sure. So, I mean, as soon as I got here, I started looking for student jobs, and it was difficult because I was still learning about communication and culture, and I didn't have any experience from over here. So it's competitive. Like, it takes the first, like most people take at least a year to understand how that works, and unless you're Danish and you're already used to the system and you know the language. But then you end up finding things and at different levels. It can be like a restaurant or job or a delivering newspaper or advertisement job or basic one for a certain number of hours a week, or it can be something administrative at the university where you're supporting, like, say, the accommodation office, or the student who's, or something like that. Um, and then there can be the next type of jobs would be like, once you've done a course, and you can ask the professor that in the next time he does the course, you can be a teaching assistant, which is something I got to do in 2019. I mean, and then there is also the internship opportunities, which can be paid or unpaid, like I did at the UN in 2018 for a semester. And then there are student jobs at companies, at different types of student jobs. It can be something more administrative, or actually working on or assisting with projects. Like where I'm currently working, we have a lot of student jobs and we have interns. So you have to understand, once you come here, like, what are the different opportunities, how do you get access to those, how do you find out about those opportunities, and most important is understanding the application process, what they're looking for and all. Uh, and there is definitely a lot of help on that. There's the career center at DTU at your university. The commune is also trying to help with that, a lot of programs around it. So, and in general, you can, like, yeah, get advice from other people who have gone through the process.
But you will also get the support if you want to find a job as a student. Like you can connect with someone at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
university also.
Yeah, I mean, for me at DTU, we had a career center. So you could actually go to them, have an appointment. They had different events, attend those events where you interact with companies and with professionals. Bunch of events across the year. Like we'd have a high tech summit once a year, and companies would actually come to the university, and you could actually talk to either people from their HR or from the tech or whatever. And then there is like workshops on using LinkedIn, and writing your CV and writing your cover letter, what they're expecting, the format, and what not to do, and um, how to like, even understanding a job ad and finding a job ad is something you have to learn,
Yeah.
because it's not as simple as, okay, you see a job ad and you apply for it. There is more to it. You have to see what it's asking for, call the person, if, like, find out more information. And this is applicable across, like, even for a full-time job, the process becomes similar.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that also, because I remember like we met and I wanted your help with
Yeah.
getting started with finding a job, and
Mhm.
you shared some wonderful insights, like
Yeah.
how LinkedIn is important. So
Mhm.
maybe we can use this conversation as a transition to the next part about working in Denmark.
Yeah.
And if you could share some of your experience about how you can find a job in Denmark.